The first constellation shifted on a windless August night, long after the tourists and their bonfire songs had scuttled back to lit porches and quiet motel rooms. Victor Larkin, Commander Victor Larkin, though nobody called him that anymore, stood on the deck behind his cedar-shingled cottage and rubbed his eyes as if some stray salt spray had lingered there. He had come out only to check the weather and feel the hush he used to float in, the hush that sounds like ocean but feels like orbit. Cassiopeia should have reclined in her familiar chair above the trees, yet her bright wingtips straightened and angled again until the stars spelled three unmistakable letters, H-I. Victor blinked twice, then reached for the outdated binoculars hanging near the back door. Even through chilled glass, the stars remained obedient to new geometry, H-I. They gleamed, steady as cockpit lights. He lowered the binoculars, half expecting the message to scatter back into its ancient shape, but the letters persisted for nearly a minute before each star drifted imperceptibly, yet decisively, into old positions. Cassiopeia reclaimed her throne as though nothing remarkable had happened. He told no one the next morning, not even Dottie Phelps, the retired school librarian who jogged the beach and often stopped to wave at him from the dune steps. Victor brewed coffee, opened the newspaper, and tried to care about the mayoral race. Yet every headline read like a pale imitation of 5 shining points that had said hello. 2 nights later, Orion raised his bow, drew the string, and rearranged. Rigel, Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, and Scythe shifted until the hunter's belt curved into an R, then an E, another H, until the sky wrote Rick. This time, Victor's knees buckled, though microgravity training had once taught him how to stay calm while his blood learned new directions. He lowered himself onto the deck boards, heart knocking like a loose panel on an airlock door. Above, the letters shimmered, daring him to acknowledge them. He whispered, "Reach what? Where?" The answer, if one existed, returned in the restless surf. Victor Larkin had orbited Earth 73 times in a titanium shell called the Endeavour, walked the lunar regolith for 73 breathless minutes while an entire hemisphere held its breath alongside him, and spent the rest of his years lecturing on propulsion. When the agency offered early retirement after funding cuts, he took it without protest, certain he had said everything worth saying. He bought the cottage, became part of the coastal scenery, and kept his triumphs mothballed in plaques and a dusty spacesuit that hung like a silent guest in the closet, which meant nobody had a sensible reason to summon him, especially not the stars whose language he had loved but never presumed to converse in. That week, the sky fell into a restless habit. Ursa Major dissolved and reformed into speak. Cygnus corkscrewed into a question mark. Each message lingered, not quite long enough for Victor to photograph. He tried, clumsily sometimes with his phone, sometimes with the battered DSLR he had once packed for mission-packed publicity shots. But the moment lenses clicked, the constellations reverted. What remained in the digital viewfinder were the patterns every stargazer knew, their mythic forms unperturbed. Tuesday evening, while he was rereading logbooks in search of any precedent solar flares, atmospheric lensing, even classified projects, Polaris dipped southward by 1.5 degrees, improbable for the North Star, whose name guaranteed steadfastness. Little Dipper stars reshaped around that migrating beacon to spell "Listen to Night 10." Victor spent the intervening hours pacing the living room. Shadows breached the carpet like creeping launch gantries. 10 p.m. arrived with cicada hum and a translucent moon. Above the black pines, the constellations brewed, shuffled, and birthed a full sentence. Others need your stories. He almost laughed then, the fizzy edge of a laugh shocked into breathing space by grief. Others? The only others he had these days were Gulls, the postal clerk, and a half-finished jigsaw puzzle of the Sea of Tranquility. He answered the air anyway. They have YouTube. They don't need me. As if scolded, the stars scattered back to the cosmology their Greek storytellers had assigned them. Yet they had chosen a phrase he could not unhear. Stories. Victor still dreamt his missions in fragments, hulls creaking, panels luminescent with frost, the chatter of biodata streams, but there was one story he never told. The second moonwalk, where pilot Shane Patel's visor cracked on a jagged rock and micrometeorites pinged the surface like malevolent hailstones. Victor had patched Shane's visor with thermal tape while both of them sang a lullaby they'd learned from a technician's toddler. Their calm had saved the mission, but Shane died 3 years later of an unrelated heart condition, and the lullaby died with him, entombed in Victor's chest. Maybe, Victor thought now, the sky wanted that lullaby freed after all these dark orbits of silence. Wednesday, the messages ceased. Clouds elbowed in and rained for 2 days, leaving him to prowl the house in damp suspense. During a restless breakfast, he opened the community newsletter and saw, tucked between notices of lost cats and bingo, an item he must have skimmed before. Volunteer mentors needed seaside. Planetarium is expanding its youth outreach program. Launch pads, retired engineers, pilots, and space enthusiasts welcome. He spooned oatmeal, stared through steam, and recalled the directive. Others need your stories. His jaw tightened. Coincidence was as overrated as terrestrial gravity. That night, he drove to Seaside Planetarium, a low concrete dome pressed between condo developments. Inside, the ticket desk was closed, but faint light seeped under a rear door. He knocked. Footsteps approached, quick, uncertain, and a woman in her 30s cracked the door. "I'm sorry, we're not open," she began, then paused, recognition flickering. "Wait, you're Commander Larkin. You spoke at my fourth grade assembly. Lindsay Carver. Now, Dr. Carver, I run the place." The words came out before he could rehearse them. "I'd like to volunteer." Dr. Carver ushered him into a cluttered office smelling of cardboard and comet dust posters. She explained their new program, weekend workshops for kids who built cardboard rovers and coded constellation finders. "They want guidance from someone who's tasted the stratosphere," she said. "I've never been past the Kármán line, only studied it." He remembered the starlit commands and heard himself accept. Paperwork was slid across a desk. He filled boxes, ignored the lines asking for next of kin, and circled dates. The commitment felt weightless. Yet driving home, he worried. He had no idea how to translate vacuum silence into digestible anecdotes for adolescents reared on virtual reality. Even his NASA slides had yellowed. When he stepped onto his deck to consult the night, stars lounged in their rightful places. No directives, no rearranged alphabets. Nothing, as though they had passed the baton. Saturday brought 8 children, ranging from 8 to 15, plus 2 harried parents who hovered like satellites. Victor sat in a circle beneath the planetarium dome, where simulations of Jupiter loomed on the curved ceiling. Dr. Carver introduced him with a flourish, the man who walked the moon's southern highlands. The children's eyes shone like instrument panels at pre-launch. He felt a tremor in his lungs, fear maybe, or air thinning at altitude. He began with standard material, thrust ratios, oxygen scrubbers, the taste of rehydrated lasagna. They listened politely, but their shoulders slackened. They could find these facts online. Then, a small boy named Miguel raised his hand. "Were you scared?" he asked. The question detonated something dormant. Victor set aside the clicker. "All of it scared me," he said. "Every second. But fear is a gauge. It tells you the mission matters." Words spilled, the claustrophobia inside the launch suit, the moment Shane's visor cracked, the lullaby humming through his suit's comms to keep panic from filling the oxygen lines. He hummed the tune softly, faltering, and the dome's acoustics caught it, turned it into a ghostly, cradle-shaped echo. To his astonishment, the children hummed back, picking up the melody like a baton passed in microgravity. Parents joined. Dr. Carver closed her eyes, mesmerized. When the humming ebbed, silence felt charged, ionized. Miguel exhaled. That was beautiful. Victor's throat tightened. Beautiful, he thought. Not tragic, beautiful. The workshop ended with cardboard rovers scooting across linoleum, but the kids kept circling him, peppering him with questions. What did starlight look like on lunar dust? Could you smell space? Could someone like them make orbit? He answered each as meticulously as any trajectory calculation. Before they left, Miguel pressed a folded drawing into Victor's palm, a sketch of the lullaby notes orbiting Saturn. Underneath, the boy had written, "Reach others the way you reached me." That night, Victor walked the beach beneath a starfield unsullied by clouds. He half imagined Cassiopeia might reclined into another message, but she remained demure. Instead, Victor spoke upward, "All right, I'm listening, keep nudging." Over the following weeks, he became a fixture at launch pads. He taught kids how to build DIY spectroscopes from DVDs, coached shy teens through debate club stage fright by comparing it to Launchpad Rumble, and revived his own dormant muscles by crouching beside tripods to adjust their friction knobs. He uncovered analogies everywhere, data packets as conga lines, orbital decay as a tired merry-go-round. His stories grew bolder. He told of engine failures, of stargazing through a cupola window while Earth's auroras braided color like living calligraphy. Each revelation unspooled another tether inside him, freeing grief into purposeful weightlessness. One evening after a workshop, Dr. Carver locked the planetarium doors and offered him a ride. As they drove past quiet storefronts, she said, "Miguel's father told me his son won't stop talking about you. Says he wants to design space habitats for autistic kids so they can explore safely. You lit something." "I only reminded him the sky is open," Victor answered, but warmth traveled from his chest into fingertips. She pulled over at the beach access road. "I know it's late, but I want to show you something." They walked past dunes, and at her cue, he looked up. High over the ocean, the familiar Big Dipper scribed curved letters again. This time, the message was short, brilliant, authoritative. "Good work." Dr. Carver gasped. "Do you see that?" "Yes," he exhaled, relief and surprise colliding. "You can see it too?" "Of course. It's impossible, but it's there." Her voice hopped registers like a radio scanning channels. "Victor, what is happening?" He considered a dozen speculative answers. Gravitational lensing, an alien prank, but truth felt simpler now. Maybe the universe is more alive than we reckon. Maybe it nudges people when they drift off course. They watched until the stars resumed their ancient ladle shape. Dr. Carver's cheeks glistened. "Whatever this is, we can't keep it secret. The children should see." He hesitated. The thought of spectacle, of satellites swarming to investigate celestial graffiti, unsettled him. But he remembered the directive. Others need your stories. Stories multiplied when shared, not sequestered. The next Launchpad's meeting, they set up sleeping bags inside the dome for a midnight field trip. Parents signed waivers enthralled by the rumor of interactive astronomy. Victor wheeled out telescopes onto the rooftop deck. Clouds threatened, then withdrew like stage curtains, revealing a cosmic set piece. At 11:42, the sky performed its choreography. Orion, Lyra, and Pegasus drifted, aligning into a text chain visible to every naked eye. Dreams earned wings when shared. Shrieks of wonder launched among the rooftop crowd. Phones filmed, yet again no camera captured the rearrangement. On screens, the constellations refused to break character. The children settled into stunned hush, turning to Victor as though he were flight director for the cosmos itself. He said only, "Remember this moment. Wonder is a responsibility." That night, none of them slept. They argued theories, holographic projections, government beacons, a benevolent cosmic intelligence. Victor listened, content. Whatever force choreographed the heavens had also resurrected a song, propelled a boy's new ambition, and reopened a hatch inside an aging astronaut's heart. News spread despite lack of photographic evidence. Articles popped up: collective sky hallucination, quantum message board above seaside. Skeptics blamed group hysteria. Believers camped on beaches waiting for stars to address them personally. As attention swelled, NASA dispatched a low-orbit satellite to film suspect regions, yet data returned inconclusive. The anomaly responded to faith, not instrumentation. Victor avoided interviews, letting Dr. Carver handle press with measured enthusiasm. He preferred to keep his orbit small. Still, late one afternoon, a voice he hadn't heard in years crackled through his cottage landline. "Commander Larkin, it's Amelia Patel-Shane's widow." He nearly dropped the receiver. She explained that her nephew, an astrophysics major, had attended last week's rooftop vigil and recognized the lullaby Victor hummed on camera. "Shane used to sing it to our daughters," she said. Hearing it again was like hearing him breathe. Her voice faltered, then steadied. "Thank you for sharing what happened up there. I never knew the details." Victor pressed his palm against the cold window. "I should have told you long ago." "I'm glad you finally did," she said. "It helps." When the call ended, he stepped outside. Twilight painted the horizon lavender. For the first time in years, he felt no gravity pulling him into regret. The sky was no longer an archive of past achievements, but a living script he could enter at will. Autumn settled, and with it, launchpads expanded into after-school sessions. Enrollment doubled, the planetarium needed more volunteers. Victor recruited retired engineers, a nurse who'd monitored shuttle crews, a machinist who once welded booster tanks. Each recruit told a story no textbook held. The sky remained mostly well-behaved, though now and then Victor spotted a wink two stars trading places, like children sharing secrets. He smiled each time, grateful for cosmic punctuation marks affirming their progress. On the winter solstice, the planetarium hosted an all-night gala. Telescopes lined the parking lot beside hot cocoa barrels. Victor arrived early, carrying a battered flight helmet to donate to the exhibit. As he passed a knot of teenagers debating exoplanet atmospheres, he caught fragments, spectral lines, biosignatures, terraforming ethics, and marveled. Their vocabulary outpaced what college seniors had known in his era. Inside, Miguel, now sporting homemade 3D printed rover wheels on his backpack, ran up, waving a tablet. "Commander, we built a star tracker that maps any changes in real time. If they write stuff again, we'll record coordinate shifts." The boy's grin threatened orbital escape velocity. The gala crescendoed at midnight with a countdown to the solstice peak, spotlights extinguished, an expectant hush enveloped the crowd. Victor's breath puffed in the cold, mingling with dozens of visible breaths rising like fleeting rockets. Above, stars glimmered, fixed. Seconds ticked, people fidgeted, then, almost coyly, the constellation Perseus pivoted. Its brightest star, Merrifac, nudged westward. One by one, others slid into alignment until the winter canopy spelled the clearest message yet. "Your turn now." Gasps rippled. Miguel's tracker beeped as coordinates streamed. Onlookers turned to Victor, some with phones raised, others with nothing but bare hope in their eyes. He inhaled. The hush felt identical to mission control at liftoff. Every soul focused on a single, fragile objective. "They're right," he called out, voice surprisingly loud. "Tonight the sky has spoken enough. It's our turn." He motioned to Dr. Carver, who dimmed the last parking lot lamp. Darkness deepened, stars brightened, waiting. Victor began the lullaby, softly at first, just breath through a memory. Miguel joined with clear treble. Parents, volunteers, curious neighbors followed. Soon an improvised choir of ordinary earthlings sent a melody upward, note by imperfect note, into the infinite. The constellation stayed still. They did not reshape a response, and none was needed. Their silence was permission. Humanity continued the dialogue. When the final chord dissolved into sea wind, applause erupted, not for Victor alone, but for everyone brave enough to add a voice to the celestial conversation. Dr. Carver wiped tears. Miguel's tracker logged the starfield. Unchanged, yet forever different, because they had claimed it with song. Back at his cottage after the gala, Victor hung the empty flight helmet on a hook beside the door, its mission complete, replaced by something subtler. The deckboards were slick with frost. He looked skyward. Constellations lay in rightful, mythic poses, guardians and beasts and heroes carved from photon dusk. They offered no words tonight, they were listening. Victor placed his hand over his heart, where new stories orbited, each with engines firing. "Message received," he whispered. "Clear for next launch." The ocean answered with a hush that felt like applause from a planet well pleased with its storytellers. Somewhere beyond, perhaps, allied pinpoints of light prepared for their own retelling. Confident the line of mentors was unbroken now, passed from flame to flame, from star to star, from an aging astronaut to every young dreamer brave enough to reach.